All right, welcome to another Data System Chiefs course video. We are working currently in Annex B and we are working with our VMware items. This is going to be Lab 3 and this is going to be installing our VMware vCenter server. With this one, there's going to be a couple steps where it's going to take a little bit of time, so I will keep recording the whole time, but I will fast forward through those parts so you don't have to just watch a progress bar. You're going to already have to watch the progress bar anyways. But kind of the objective of this lab right now is to install VMware vCenter server, be able to configure it, and then be able to log into that appliance and just kind of see the main splash screen. So our very first task is, if you haven't already done this, we're going to log into that console PC that we created, that VMware, the 12mu workstation 01. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit settings and we're going to mount our VCSA appliance ISO. So with edit settings, there's a couple ways to be able to, there's a couple locations that you can utilize to get in there. You can right click on the VM and there's edit settings right here and it'll bring up the screen. You come here to actions, edit settings, and it'll bring up this screen. You can even come, no, never mind, you can't go there. But right here in the center is edit settings, and I'm going to use this one. You click that and it has all the options inside of here. For our VCSA appliance, we're going to come to the CD DVD drive. We're going to make sure that this option is our data store ISO file. We're going to make sure it's connected here and connected on power on. You can leave that checked, but we're going to come right here to where it says CD DVD media. We're going to click browse right here. You're going to see the 1763N student vSAN. Click the little arrow right next to it. It's going to bring up all these folders. These are all the virtual machines that you guys, as well as the entry-level students, are creating. There's a lot, but we're going to go right here. We're going to go to ISO, hit that. It's going to have the ISO folder right here. We're going to hit that little arrow, and then we're going to click ESXi right here. Inside of here, you're going to see a couple things. We are looking for the VMware belay my last. Our VCSA is right here. It needs to be moved. Right here we're looking, so we're going to go student vSAN ISO ISOs VMware VCSA 702. Go ahead and click OK there, and we're going to click OK right here. Now we're going to come into our web console. As you can see from the previous, from where I'm at, I just finished up the previous video. We're inside of our 3 hosts. We're going to minimize that window. If it's set up right, you will see this window. If not, I'll close it out and show you. You can come here to folder, this PC, and then you're going to see that ISO that's mounted right here. We're going to double click inside of there. We're going to come here to the VCSA UI installer. We're going to come to the Win32 folder, and then we're looking for the installer application. We're going to select it, and we're going to double click. It's going to come up. So here is kind of the introduction of the installer. So from here, you can install. That's what we're going to do. If you're already running a vCenter server appliance, you can actually upgrade. So if you're running like 6.5 or 6.7, you can click here and upgrade. You can utilize this to migrate from the Windows version of vCenter server appliance that it was in 6.7, or you can actually restore from a previous backup. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here into install. So right here is the introduction. This is the installer is going to allow us to install a vCenter server 7.0. We're at stage 1. We're deploying the vCenter server right now. We're going to go ahead and click next. Here's your end user license agreement. We're going to accept the terms and license agreement. Go ahead and click next. So right here for our vCenter server deployment target, what we're going to utilize is that ESXi 03 host that we created. So you can either use IP address, or if your DNS is working correctly, ESXi 03.168.1.1. studentmu.usmc.mil. Keep the HTTPS port as 443, and then we're going to put that username, which is root, and that password, which is the Marine's password, in there. When you're done there, go ahead and click Next. It's going to give you this certificate warning. It's going to talk about this. This is an untrusted SSL certificate. You can log in and you can look at the SHA-1 thumbprint of the server and you can verify that it is the correct server you're trying to log in. Go ahead and click Yes. It's going to take a second to validate to make sure, like, hey, can I actually get into this ESXi host? Right here, we're going to look at our lab data sheet and we're going to name our VM. So this is when you're looking inside of your ESXi host, or when we get into our vCenter server appliance, this is the actual name that's going to show up of our virtual machine. So if you look at your lab data sheet, it's going to be your student number, mu VCSA, and then that root password, we're going to do the Marine's password and we're going to do it twice. If you want to verify, this just tells you kind of must contain at least 8 characters, no more than 20, one upper, one lower, one number, one special character. If you misspell something, it will give you an error, but if you type both passwords correct, you won't see anything. Go ahead and click Next. Right here, because of the size of our environment that we're going to build, we're just going to do a tiny deployment size and we're going to leave the storage size as default. We're not going to be doing too much with this. So we move into our select the data store. So we're going to install an existing data store accessible from the target host. We're going to show all compatible ones. The only one we're going to see is that service data store that we created in the previous lab. And then for size sake, we're going to click this enable thin disk mode. So this is a thin provision disk, doesn't pre-allocate all the storage because we're going to need some of that storage for later. Go ahead and click next. Right here is the most important thing. So we're going to use that VCSA interface. We're going to be IPv4. We'll make sure we're static. Right here is the FQDN. So this is where we're going to make sure hopefully our DNS is set up correctly. So if you remember in the previous labs, we created that host A record for vCenter for the IP address of our VCSA appliance. If you look at your lab data sheet, you're going to look at the IP address here. So 172.18, your student number .10. Because this is in that server VLAN we have, you can do two ways. You can either go /20, you can either put 25 in there for the prefix link, or you can literally type it out 255.255.128. Our default gateway is going to be that first usable IP address, which is 172.18.12.1, or your student number. And then that DNS server is going to be that domain controller that we set up. So 172.18.12.21. Go ahead and click next. All right, ready to complete stage 1. You want to verify all this information, make sure everything is good, make sure your host name is good, because if you don't and you go get into stage 2, you can run into issues. Go ahead and click finish. And now we're going to get into the initializing and the install of stage 1. I'm going to fast forward through the recording once I go to edit this so that you're not just sitting here watching it. It'll go really quick for you. All right, as you can see, the first stage of the install is complete. It does take 10, maybe 15 minutes to do. So as long as you see that progress bar moving forward, you know that it's going to work. So now we are going to proceed on to task 2, which is that installing of stage 2. So from here, you can exit and you can come into here if you screw up, and you can finish the installation, or from this screen we're going to just click continue. It's going to take a second to load up that stage 2. All right, so now this is going to be setting up our vCenter server. Go ahead and click next. Right here for time synchronization mode, we're going to synchronize that with our NTP server, which is going to be our DC. So 172.18.12, student number 21. And then for SSH access, we're going to enable that. Go ahead and click next. It's going to take a second because it has to reach out to your DC to make sure it is in fact an NTP server. All right. So from here, if you had an existing single sign-on domain, you could actually join this to there, so you could have 2 vCenter servers. But because this is our very first installation, we're going to create our own new single sign-on domain. And so that domain name, depending on what your unit's SOP is, will depend on that. We're going to name it vSphere. And for some reason, you can't have numbers in front of it, so we're going to go mu, and then our student number .usmc.mil. The single sign-on username is going to be the default, which is administrator, and then we're going to use that Marines password again. And if you want to, you can click the little I to make sure that you typed it in correctly. Go ahead and click next. If it asks you, this is that password that we configured in stage 1, Marines password. Click it to make sure. Go ahead and click next. Just like we did with our ESXi, this is that customer experience improvement program. We're going to uncheck that. That is actually a part of the STIG when deploying a VCSA, is to make sure that customer experience improvement program is not checked. Click next. You're going to watch this. You're going to make sure static IP address. This is the IP. This is the name. This is all the other pertinent details that we just added in. And then we're going to go ahead and click finish. It's going to give you a warning. You're not going to be able to pause or stop the install from completing once it started. Click OK to continue, or cancel to stop the install. So we're going to click OK. All right, as you see, we have our progress bar. If for some reason it doesn't get any further than 10% and you've been going for like 15 or 20 minutes, you have configured something wrong. You're going to have to log into ESXi03. You're going to have to delete your VCSA VM, and you're going to have to redo this over. But as you can see, I'm making progress. So I will fast forward the video as the progress goes along, and I will come back to you when I am done with stage 2. All right, after some time, you will see that it will come to this point. So you have just successfully installed stage 2 with no errors. What you can now do is you can close this window out. You can go into your browser. I'm going to open up a new tab, type in https vcenter.12mu.usmc.mil. Go ahead and click enter. You're going to get that same screen. If you remember in the previous lab, you saw that when we were logged into the ESXi host, it's going to state that your connection is not private. Go ahead and click the advanced button. We're going to proceed right here. We're going to have this cool little big blue button. You're going to click that. From here, we're going to type in that administrator at vsphere.mu12.usmc. As you can see, mine is already previously saved. I was building something out and I broke it, so I had to reinstall. But it should be that Marines password twice. Go ahead and click login. It's going to take a second. And welcome to your vCenter Server Appliance environment. Then this from here is where the rest of the labs we're going to be working inside of here. Follow on note, if you come here to this https colon vCenter and then you go colon port 5480, this is actually the back side. This is the server management. From here, it's going to be the root password, root, and then that Marines password. And right here is some of the additional stuff that you can do to the actual appliance as well. You can monitor, you can look. So when you guys got some time, go ahead, look around in here. Don't change anything, but you can look. This is all pertinent information. If you need to change your time zone, you got here. If for some reason you're having issue with a service, you can literally come in here just like services on like a domain controller on a computer. You can restart them. If you're needing to update and say it has connection to the internet, you can do here. Or if you have your VCSA update bundle, from here you can actually update as well. Some administration stuff that you can do. You can change password requirements. You can change expiration. When you're going to do anything syslog, you can forward from here. You'll forward all your logs. And then if, say, your whole environment's configured and everything, you can actually back it up in case you corrupt something. You can restore that. I want update. But other than that, this is the end of lab 3. Our next video is going to go into lab 4. Thank you and have a wonderful day.